Welcome to the Spiritually Wired podcast. I'm so excited to welcome today Erin Claire Jones. She is a human design guide and coach, the founder of HD Blueprint, and also the author of How Do You Choose? A human design guide to what's best for you at work, in love, and in life. Erin is also a pioneer, really, in the field of human design, helping hundreds of thousands of people with her work. So it is truly an honor to be sharing this conversation with you today. Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome to the Spiritually Wired podcast. I am so excited today because I am welcoming Erin Claire Jones on the podcast. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So happy to have you. And Erin, if you don't know her, is a human design guide and coach. She is the founder of the HD Blueprint and also the author of How Do You Choose? A human design guide to what's best for you at work, in love, and in life. So congratulations, first of all, on your book. It's just released, and that is so incredible.
Thank you so much. Pretty surreal, but I'm so excited it's out there.
I bet. And it's going to make such a big difference in the world. And so before we go into all of the goodness of your book, I would love to maybe start with, for someone who's listening and is not familiar with human design, can you give us just a quick snapshot as to what it is and really why you believe it's such a powerful tool that we can use?
Of course. So human design is a system based on your time, date, and place of birth that reveals your energetic blueprint. It lets you know how you are wired to thrive in every part of your life, from relationships to career to business to parenting to all of it. I think why it's such a powerful tool is that it gives us permission to show up to our work and our parenting and our relationships in a way that feels so authentic and true to us. And it's just very specific. I think so often we get caught in like somebody else is doing this thing, we might try that too. And I think human design really lets us know like what's actually genuinely going to work for us. And I'm so in love with how practical the system is, that it not only gives you all this juicy information about yourself, but it lets you know how to actually apply it, how to actually use it in ways that you can really integrate into your day-to-day pretty immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I think that has been the big thing for me in recognizing there's something so incredible about holding, just that guide in your hands, and everything sort of, it gives you the clarity and also things make sense when you start to dive into it, which is pretty amazing. What was your how did you get into human design? What was the journey for you?
It was unexpected. I found my way into human design in 2015, and I was living in New York City and went to a friend's gathering on the Lower East Side and sat next to a stranger who asked to read my human design chart. And I had never heard of human design, but I was, as many of us are, I believe, pretty curious about like, what is this weird thing have to say about me? Like, I'm going to, just hear him out. And he proceeded, and it was just the most kind of resonant, confronting, permission-giving reading I'd ever received. And he ended that conversation by saying, Erin, I think you're meant to do this. I think you're meant to share human design with the world. It was such a crazy invitation in my life, which is what my design is all about. And that's really what initiated me into studying and sharing human design. It's been a wild journey since then, many ups and downs and everything in between, but that's how it began.
Yeah, because I mean, now it's so interesting. You go in rooms and people are like, what's your human design? And it's like the question that everyone wants to know, but back in 2015, I'm sure no one was asking that question. It just wasn't something that was really
at all.
happening at the time.
I
Yeah.
know it's wild that it has grown in the way that it is, and that the grown in the way that it has, and it's still very nascent, but still just looking back, like no one had any idea what I was talking about, and now it's like it's cool and people are aware of it and it's growing in popularity. So it's been a really amazing journey to kind of watch that transition happen.
Well, yeah, and also be such a key part in creating that, right? Like
Yeah,
you really were one of the pioneers in bringing human design to the world in a way that people could relate to it and apply it. So that is pretty amazing. Now, if someone's listening and they're like, "How the heck do I find out what my human design is? How does it work? Like, what's the practical piece of figuring out what your human design type is?"
so if you go to humandesignblueprint.com, you can look up your human design. You'll need your time, date, and place of birth. If you don't know your precise time, choose the closest time that you know. If you don't know your exact city, all that matters is the time zone you were born in. But once you input that information, you're going to get a pretty wild looking chart. And so I would not worry about interpreting that chart immediately because it's pretty complex, but I would look at kind of the key qualities. So to start, look at what your type is, your strategy, your authority. There are so many layers, as you probably have discovered, to dive into, but just beginning with those three pieces can be so useful.
Yeah. And I mean, I downloaded it for myself. And then I've been gifting it to friends because I'm like, there's no better gift than like, when you don't know what to get someone. And I'm like, what a great
Totally.
gift to just have some self-awareness about why you do things.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, you titled the book, How Do You Choose? And I know in the book you say, our lives is a series of decisions that we make, and, which can oftentimes be very overwhelming. Like there's so many moments in time in which we have to make a decision about something. And so you specifically, the book is around how do you choose it? Can you speak a little bit more about how human design can help you make those decisions in life?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many layers of human design that speak to how we can create the right opportunities, how we can assess which ones are right for us, how we can show up in ways that actually feel sustainable. And I think when I was thinking about the way to frame the book, I felt like the most important piece was really helping people make empowered decisions in every part of their life. So, the vision for the book was not to write a human design textbook that you would read if you wanted to learn everything there is to learn about human design, but rather a book that serves as a decision-making tool, like a real-time guide where you're like, I'm struggling with this job decision. I'm not totally sure what to do about where to live next. I don't know what to do about this friendship. Let me kind of open up and remind myself like how to choose in a way that is actually right for me. Because what I find, and I'm curious your life experience with this, but I think when we enter into experiences, when we know they're right, we're like, I'm saying yes to this job and I know it feels right, or I'm saying yes to this relationship, it just creates space for like a pretty amazing experience. It might not work out, but we might have learned a lot. But I find when we enter into things and are questioning it, are uncertain, it doesn't feel right, that uncertainty persists and it makes it hard to really have the best experience that we're meant to. And so I think when we choose the right things from the outset, it dramatically transforms our life in every single way. And so the book is really around how helping people choose in ways that feel better, in ways that feel more easeful in every part of their lives. But specifically, as you saw, the application is to kind of career and relationships. Those are the examples I really look at.
Absolutely. So you have the sort of three pillars, if you will, the type, the strategy. Well, first of all, the type you say is how you use your energy best. And then your strategy, which is how you can create opportunities in life. And then your authority, which is how you make decisions. So sort of coming back to the type piece, again, just like a quick overview of what are the different types when it comes to human design, because that's the big one that most people
Yeah.
will first connect with.
So in human design, there are 5 types. So when you look up your chart, you'll see either manifesting generator, generator, projector, reflector, or manifester. So manifesting generators, this is you. Is that correct? Yeah.
I
So,
didn't even tell you. I didn't even tell you.
well, you have bought your guide, so I have your information. So manifesting generators are quite multi-passionate. These are people that have so much energy and vitality to kind of build and create when you feel genuinely excited about what you're doing. And your excitement is so infectious. I think a big lesson for you is the more you really have strong boundaries and say yes to what lights you up and no to what doesn't, the more energy you have and the more you kind of lift up everyone around you. Manifesting generators are quite multi-passionate, very multidimensional. You might find that you can't neatly fit into one box, and there are many parts of you that want to be expressed over the course of your life. And so it might feel natural for you to try things on and let things go and pivot and evolve rather than kind of choosing a thing and sticking to it for a long time. One challenge that I see arise often with manifesting generators is this expectation that others will move as fast as you. You have such a capacity to kind of make things happen quicker than basically everyone. And so if you expect others to move at your speed or do as much, it can be disappointing. And so a big lesson for you is to kind of embrace your gift for efficiency without extending the belief that others will do it just like you. I'm curious how and if that resonates with you.
It does. And honestly, it felt so validating when I was able to learn that about myself, because I always felt like I was doing it wrong before. There was a sense of, am I just like flaky where I'm doing different things? And like I carried a lot of self-judgment around it. I have to say that it was like, why am I not the person that can just do that one thing and stick to it? And so reading and learning about that was just almost like that sigh of relief of course, this is who I am. And now I can see that as a gift, as opposed to seeing as if it's something that I have to overcome. And I just need to really find that one thing. So it was quite liberating and freeing for me, I have to say, to learn that about myself. And later on in life, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, I wish I would have learned it earlier. My daughter's 22. Like, well, that's such a powerful tool to know, right?
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah, and I just appreciate what you said, because I think so often we make ourselves wrong for the things that make us us. It's like, oh, I'm doing too much. I can't choose one thing. I'm moving too fast, whatever it is. And it's like, no, those are your gifts. Like, those are the things you're meant to lean into. So whatever our designs, I feel like we get caught in this trap of like, oh, I should do it another way. And so often our design reminds us of like, no, you're doing it perfectly. And that is your gift. And like, you can like lean into that and not run away from it. To kind of give you some insights into the other types, there are also generators, which are similar to manifesting generators. A lot of natural energy to kind of build, create, do, make things happen. They have very steadfast, masterful energy, kind of really good at bringing the ideas to life step by step. A real capacity for mastery. Similarly to manifesting generators, the more lit up they are, the more they kind of infect everyone with their passion and excitement. I personally love being around generators and manifesting generators because it's just like this buzzy, creative, exciting energy. But a big lesson for generators as well is boundaries. People can expect them to do everything because they are so capable. So really being very clear about what they feel available for and what they are not available for. We've got projectors. Have you looked up your daughter's design, by the way?
No, I haven't. And now I really...
I know.
Absolutely.
Then we've got projectors. Projectors are here to be leaders, guides, advisors, teachers, not here to do all the doing. When I found out I was a projector, it was so confusing and also relieving because I had spent so much of my life just trying to keep up and hustle and go so hard. And I still get pulled into that trap often. And yet, I've learned the more rested I am, the more effective I am, the more insightful I am, the more creative I am. And so really kind of building in moments of space and rest and pause and knowing that my gift is very much in how I see and not like how many hours I work during the day or like how much more I can do at this moment. Projectors tend to love systems like human design. They kind of love anything that helps them better understand people because that is such a natural gift they already carry. Then we've got manifestors, very innovative, disruptive people that are here to kind of like just transform the way things are done. These people value freedom. They often thrive when they have the freedom to kind of set the terms of how they do things and when they do things, and they're not kind of controlled or guided by others. Their energy is very spurty. What I mean by that is they can have these periods where they're super on fire for like a couple weeks or days or hours, and that's followed by a need of, seclusion and time alone and space. So that's kind of a very natural flow. And I might have already said this, but these people are very good at starting things, but not necessarily at doing all the doing to kind of keep the thing alive. And then finally, we've got reflectors, and reflectors are the rarest type. These are people that are so sensitive to their environment. they're kind of taking in and magnifying everything that they're around. So they need to be very ruthless curators of who they're spending time with and where they're spending time, because they're feeling it all. And they're very fluid people. You know, they'll have days where they might feel like a manifesting generator like you, or a projector like me, or a manifestor like someone else. And the work for them is to not try to be fixed in their expression, but to embrace the fact that they're here to express themselves in a million different ways over the course of their life.
Amazing. And so from sort of your type, which gives you those guidelines as to the type of person, again, as I said, to me, it was like so freeing and validating to be like, okay, this is who I am, and now I can embrace it, as opposed to trying to against it. But then the second part is sort of the strategy, which is creating opportunities. And to me, the interesting thing with the strategy piece. So can you tell us a little bit more actually about the strategy piece?
Yeah. So the strategy piece is around how to kind of find and create the right opportunities in every part of your life. In the book, I really focus on how to create the right career opportunities or romantic friendship ones. So generators and manifesting generators share a strategy. It's called responding. It basically means that as much energy as you have to make things happen, you are not meant to chase after and force opportunities. You're not here to sit at home and be like, what is the next idea I'm going to pursue, and like wait for it to arise out of thin air. You are somebody who's just meant to wait until something in your environment sparks you. Until something you see on Instagram or a podcast you listen to or something is mentioned in conversation and you're like, ooh, I feel like a draw towards that. Ooh, I feel a pull. And so you're very much meant to be gut-led, not mind-led. You know, and I tell so many stories in the book romantically of like people just being like, I'm not looking for a partner. That's not what I want. And then like somebody shows up and they're like, oh shoot, like I feel so drawn to that person. Like, what am I supposed to do? And that's what you're meant to do, is follow that natural response, even if it's unexpected, even if it's pulling you in a direction that you just could not have foreseen. And I think this strategy is so cool because I just find that people get pulled onto these life paths that are really unexpected and yet more magical than they could have expected. You know, they're just like, wow, I really like never thought I would like start a podcast or become a coach or move to Bali or whatever it is. And yet a thing showed up, my gut responded, and I followed it.
Yeah. And again, it's another way in which you like, when you lean into it, when you understand that about yourself, then you can trust those gut feelings more.
Yeah.
You know, because I know for me personally, I definitely make my decisions. Like I've invested in big programs. I've done like a lot of decisions. We bought a vacation property, which was all like very much gut based. And then I sometimes second guess myself after, like, oh, maybe I should have like thought this through more. And I mean, of course, there's value in sort of looking at it, you know, maybe more from a logical, intellectual perspective after, but they do tend to work out, and they don't make sense. It's sort of just like, we need to do this and do it now too.
Yeah, totally. You know, and it's confusing because that response doesn't come with a reason, and yet it is one of the most trustworthy guides you have, you know. And so it's just the thing to follow when it comes to like, who should I be friends with? What relationship should I commit to? Like, where should I go next professionally? What home should I buy or invest in? It's very much based on like the natural, physical, visceral response you have. For projectors, the strategy is to be invited, to wait for an invitation. And that basically means for me, I'm also not meant to chase after opportunities, but I'm meant to wait for somebody, for the big opportunities, to be like, hey, you, I think you would be amazing at this. I want you to share your insight here. I want to be friends with you. And so it's not kind of like, how do I respond to my environment? It's like, what are the specific invitations I'm receiving? How recognized do I feel in those invitations? And are they right for me? You know, and I think that like I have still initiated plenty and tried all kinds of strategies for making things happen. And yet when I think to the biggest and the best opportunities in my life, they have all come from the invitation. You know, I shared that story of how I discovered human design. Somebody being like, hey, you're meant to do this. And like, I don't think I would have gone on to, I'm sure I would have gone into human design and learned about it for myself. But I don't think I would have clocked that like that is a potential career option for me, and that I would have gone and studied and taught and committed 10 years of my life to it, you know. And everything, even the book, you know, it's like I talked to a lot of publishers. There was one publisher who like reached out before she knew I was writing a book, who invited me to write a book. Like they're the ones that had like the best, you know, it just felt the best to go with them. So that's just how my life has worked. And so it's felt really nice to know that, so that I can like not fight against it. And there are many proactive ways to work with all these strategies. And the book, of course, goes into those. None of these things are passive. There are, for manifestors, their strategy is to initiate and inform. It basically means that they are the one type that is designed to just like wait for a thing to just like bubble up within them, like some urge, some desire, and then just follow it, make it happen. Like they need no external cue, nothing to kind of like spark a gut response. Like they're just here to initiate the things that come to them. And that can be really scary, and it can be hard to trust because they don't know where it will take them. And yet that's how often the best things begin for them. And also another part of their strategy is to just keep people in the loop. Because they're so independent, it can be really easy to just go off and do things and not let people know. But when they just keep people informed and in the loop and abreast of what's happening, they tend to find a whole lot more flow in their lives and a whole lot more ease in their relationships. The final strategy is for reflectors, and their strategy for finding and creating the right opportunities is about planting themselves in the right space. When they're in a physical space that feels good, whether it's an office, a co-working space, a city, they make themselves available for all these amazing opportunities to come their way. And so, as silly or as, unbelievable as it may sound, often the best way to kind of create opportunities is to just plant themselves in spaces that feel aligned and stay open to kind of what opportunities arise while they're there.
And I love how in the book you share such great examples too of everything and the examples are so relatable as you're reading it, and it makes sense. So it's one of those books that you can open and really, really gain some tangible, just like ideas and revelations even about the way in which you operate. It is sort of that life operating system, really, when you think about it.
Totally. And I think that was also something that felt so important for me when I was putting together the book. I think that there's so many amazing human design books out there, but they all follow a pretty similar structure. And, it's like teaching about these different elements of human design, but there are just very few stories and very few examples of what this information looks like when it's applied, when it's practiced. And I've had such a gift of sitting with so many thousands of people over the past many years, and I have so many amazing stories of watching people transform their lives using their design. So I think that as much as I wrote this book, it's so filled with so many insights from other people and so many experiences that I think are the things that make the book, because I just think stories are so much more fun to read. And I hope my secret hope is that the stories encourage people to not only read the chapters about themselves, but the chapters of the people they care about. Because they also are like, oh, I want to learn about that person. And like, I might as well read this story. So I hope that, because I think that human design is such a powerful, transformative tool for self-understanding. And I think it is such an insanely helpful tool in our relationships, whether it's with our kids or partners or colleagues or parents, to really understand and appreciate how different they are than us.
Yeah, I mean, and in the book you shared a quote that is like, you are not me and I am not you, sort of the understanding of that, like, that's the thing. It's great to understand yourself, but then it can also give you such awareness about your kids, about, your partners, whether it's in life or in business. It really opens up the way in which you look not only at yourself, but other people, and recognize that, sometimes it's not that there's an issue between you and them. It's just that you speak a different language. You operate in a different way. And what a gift it is when you can open up your awareness in that way in your relationships.
Exactly. Exactly. It changes everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And you also speak of, okay, so the third part, I just want to make sure we cover it. So the authority, which is how you make a decision.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Yeah. So, and you articulated things beautifully. Like, type again is like your gifts, how you can best use your energy, who you are, your strategies, how to create opportunities for yourself, and your authorities. How can you actually assess which ones are right for you? And this is like, the core piece of making better decisions, because it helps you tap into your inner knowing. It's not like you're going to read the book and be like, oh, Erin says I should do this. It's like, no, Erin says this is the way to connect to my inner knowing and assess what decisions are right for me. So to kind of cover high level what they each are, you are what we call a sacral authority in human design. We talked a little bit about your gut response, but for you, it's all about trusting your gut feeling in the moment. Whereas some people must sleep on things and feel into things and mull things over. That's not you. It's instantaneous. It's fast. It comes with no reason. It's like now or not now. And so that's very much meant to be the thing that guides you. And that can be hard at times because you might have a visceral feeling and then your mind immediately gets in the way and it's like, but blah, 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 you should do it because of this reason or not do it because of this. And it can be hard to trust that visceral feeling that's underneath it. Yet that is meant to be your guide. Do
I
you
know,
feel like
again,
that's
permission to trust your gut feeling.
I know. It's everything.
Yeah.
You know, and high level, there's emotional authorities. They're meant to sleep on decisions, give themselves a couple days. Splenic authorities who are meant to kind of trust this like quiet whisper, this voice they hear, this very kind of spontaneous knowing. It's less visceral than the gut. It's more just like kind of tingles in their body, like a click in place feeling. There are self-projected authorities who kind of talk things out to find clarity. There are mental authorities who kind of talk things out in lots of different spaces with people they trust to kind of see what threads stay true through the conversations. There are ego authorities who kind of follow like what they desire, what they want, what they have the fortitude to make happen. And then there are reflectors who are meant to give themselves a full 30 days before they make big decisions. So, you know, just to kind of give people a range of like, these are all different ways to access your knowing, whether it's like spontaneous in the moment, like based in response to a question, or whether it's, you know, a decision that a knowing that comes over time and kind of needs time to really develop and mature. So it really helps us assess how we might make the best decisions and how to kind of make decisions with people that are different than us.
Yeah, and again, it gives you so you feel more empowered because now you're like, if you know the way in which you make your decisions best, then when you're making them, and I mean, you know, there's never any guarantees, as we know. It would be
Of
nice if we had,
course. I know.
this is green light, go ahead. There's always moments like we always have to sometimes, you know, take that leap. But when you understand again the way in which you make your decisions, it feels more empowering for sure.
Yes.
To be able to lean into that.
Totally. And again, like I said at the beginning, I think when we choose in ways that are really aligned for us, life just feels better. We like can trust our decisions. We can immerse ourselves in our experiences and kind of see what's there for us. I know for me, when I rush into decisions or I'm more rash, which is the opposite of what I'm supposed to do according to my design, like there is this like persistent turbulence and uncertainty and like this inability to fully commit because I like didn't really commit in the right way in the first place and didn't really commit with like a real sense of knowing. So I just think that like even if it's annoying to sleep on things or talk things out or whatever it is, or you know, try to explain your gut feeling, like committing to the right things from the outset makes all the difference. I tell one story in the book, I think it's for Sacral Authorities, of somebody who, you know, decided to leave a relationship right before she got married. And it was kind of based on her gut response. And I remember sitting with her and she was like really struggling for good reason. Like she was choosing to leave this relationship. And I was like, when did you know it wasn't right for you? And she said, from the minute I entered the relationship, you know, and here we are sitting there 2 years later, like so many things they've created together. And yet she always knew and didn't trust it. And so I think it really helps you know, yeah, how you can avoid those situations and really get clear on what's right.
Absolutely. So you definitely want to download your blueprint if you don't have it yet. And I know they can go to your website, the erinclairejones.com, but then also your book is just, there's so much incredible information there for people to even use it again, sort of weaving in the personal stories and it making sense. So I definitely want to get the book. One of the things that was interesting, I know just as a personal, like from a personal experience is that, so I knew my type, that I was a Manny Jen. Is that the cool way to say it? I was a Manny Jen. And as I was saying, it sort of gave me permission to be who I was. But I didn't go into anything more after, not that much. It's like I read it, but I put it a little bit more aside. And recently, so you have lines, and maybe you can speak to this, but like I found out or really went into the fact that I'm a 6'2". And the interesting thing with the 6, and you can speak to this more, is that there's like a specific timeline to it. And I'm turning 50 this year. And so it was one of those just, again, so it was so confirming of everything my life has been up until now, and also the phase in which I am now entering. I felt, I mean, I had that gut feeling because I know I'm a sacral 32, but it was so incredible. I don't know if you can speak a little bit to that, but
Of
it's
course.
so right.
Yeah, I think that our profile is such an amazing part of our design. And for those that have a 6 in their profile, again, you'll see this when you look your chart up. This could be, you could be a 4-6, a 6-2, a 6-3, a 3-6. It means that you're meant to live your life in 3 phases. So the first 30 years of your life is meant to be a time of a lot of experimentation, bumping into things, throwing things against the wall. Like, it's not really the time to like figure things out or make these like really long-term commitments. Although of course many of us do, but it's a time to just experiment and learn. 30 to 50 is really a time to integrate all those lessons from the first 30 years, to see things from a higher perspective, to feel more embodied in all the things you've learned. And you also might find that more and more people are coming to you for your wisdom, for the things they see in you. And these people are meant to hit their prime when they turn 50. And this is not because if you're before 50, there's nothing to wait for. It just means it's meant to keep getting better and better and better, where you kind of become such an embodied example of everything that you learned, that you become such a beacon of authenticity, such an example of authenticity. And like, you're a role model, not because you're like, this is the way things are done. It's because you're just like doing things your way. And then that inspires others to do things their way too. So, I'm also a 6-2. And I just think that it's really exciting to know that it's meant to keep getting better. Yeah. And I discovered human design when I was 25, and I was like, I'm pissed. I'm ready to be a role model now, but like, I was a baby, and I was still learning things, and it actually gave me so much permission in that under 30 phase to just like walk away from things and like throw new things against the wall. So, and for me, my life really did change at 30, and I'm just, excited to kind of watch it keep transforming. But it's a pretty cool profile.
Yeah, it's sort of I know in my case, I mean, I had my kids like sort of late 20s, and then between 30 and 50 was that period where like I always had this calling, this feel of like wanting to be a teacher, but I know like back in my 20s, I would have never thought it would have been around spirituality and mindset. I could not have seen that. Things had to unfold, and I can see it now. But in that phase, I also had some frustration too, because I felt like, stuck in between the two of feeling called to do one thing, but then at the same time, it just wasn't lining up in the way, because I was in between being a mom, and that was like my main thing that was so important to me, yet I also felt the calling. So there was always like this struggle, internal struggle that I felt, and I feel like there was a reason why I saw it the year that I'm turning 50, because maybe I wouldn't have been able to see it before, and now I'm like, okay, it feels like that it's that time. But it was just such a big aha moment. I don't know. It was one of those things you can't explain, but I saw it and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense, and why it needed to unfold the way everything did. And it's not like things weren't moving and things weren't happening in those years, but there's a difference in the energy behind it and the feeling in which I'm carrying today, if that makes sense.
Totally. And I also will say that, personally, I witness in 6-2s that are kind of in that phase of almost 50-50 and beyond. There's like a gravity to their presence. Like, I remember hosting a workshop in San Francisco, I don't know, 6 years ago. There was one woman who was like, I think I just turned 50. And like, it was just so wild to watch, because like when she spoke, the room like quieted down. They were all like, what did she have to say? Like, I just think there is a different weight to their words, their presence, just people feel it in a different kind of way. So like, it's really beautiful that you're entering into that phase. I think it's a pretty exciting one, and I really sense people feel energetically so different when they're walking into it.
Yeah, it's been a gift actually to sort of see it in that way, and to be able to look at it from a different perspective, instead of being like, I'm late. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I
Totally.
know you're younger than I am, but there was like this sense of like, oh, am I too late? Like,
Totally.
can I still do it now? Because there is, yeah, like I'm gonna be turning 50. Can I still do this? So it was quite it was quite nice to think, no, actually I can still do it, and as a matter of fact, it's the time to do it, right? There was
The perfect
something
time.
really empowering about that. And then the two, which is the hermit. And again, this is this other thing, this other inner battle of wanting to be out there, but now recognizing that there's also such a, I mean, I will use the word visceral need quiet, to quiet down and to be by myself and to isolate. Like during the pandemic, which was, I know, horrible for so many people, that's when I actually recognized that I was thriving in that environment because I didn't even realize, because I had never given myself the space or permission to spend that much time by myself. And I was like, I love this. I love spending all this time. So now having the awareness, the knowing gives you, like I was just at a conference this weekend, 150 people, got to record a podcast live. It was incredible. Energy was amazing. And then after, I just could feel myself needing to like shut down. And now having this knowledge, I can really, embrace that about myself instead of like seeing it as I'm just tired or it was a lot. Yes, it was a lot. And I also need this to, regain my energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those that have twos, so 2 4s, 2 5s, 5 2s, 6 2s, what Renee's speaking about is that kind of hermetic nature, that need to pull away and be alone and to feel no guilt about it. But like, that's such an important opportunity to recharge. And like, I know for me as a new mother with my first, I was just like, I need alone time. I felt no guilt around it because I knew how important that was. And so I think it's often so relieving for twos to realize that like that space and time to themselves is so, so important. And it's kind of where you come back alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And to honor it and to embrace it instead of like fighting what your nature is. And I mean, to me, you certainly it can't hurt to get your human design blueprint, right?
No.
It can only give you perspective. I mean, everyone has free will, so you choose what sort of resonates with you, but it can only sort of enhance the experience that you have and give you that. I mean, I see it's like either clarity and validation, like those are the two pieces of it. And so for someone maybe who is looking for more like clarity, I mean, one of the things that a lot of women will, that I work with are looking for is to connect with their purpose, their life's purpose. Maybe they're feeling a little bit lost and they're not sure what the next step is, whatever phase in life it is that they're at. How do you feel that like human design can support someone in connecting with what that purpose is?
I mean, I think it will help you know what the right next step is. I think that like it will help like human design's not, well, yes, there are parts of human design that can speak to your grand purpose and all those things, but I think that's kind of a thing we have to discover for ourselves, but it will help you kind of walk the path that will help you find it on your own. And so I think that like, and that specifically, the guide does that. And I wrote the book for that reason too, where it's just like, I'm feeling stuck. Things aren't making sense. I don't know where to go next. What is my purpose? And then kind of returning to like, oh yeah, this is the right next thing for me. This is the thing I've been drawn to. This is the next place to start. So I think that it will help people. Human design can help you kind of get out of the rut, remind you what's next, and also remind you how amazing you are. Like, I think it's important to kind of get those pep talks of like, oh my God, I do have so many gifts that I'm not really owning or stepping into right now. But I think it will help people make the right next step and then just keep moving from there.
I love that, the right next step. And sometimes that's the thing, right? It's just letting go of the pressure to figure it out and just focusing on, okay, here's where I am and what's the next best step that I can take. So I love that answer. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like I could keep going. There's so many different facets to it. I mean, the one, of course, that we spoke on a bit is the relationship piece and how much valuable. And I feel like for me, that's the next step is really getting all of my family is human design, but also the people that you work with.
100%. Yeah. It's really transformative. I think that I sit with a lot of couples and they'll come to me and there's like some tension or disconnect, and it just becomes clear that it's not because there's like a fundamental disconnect. It's just because they don't understand each other. One person's like expecting the other one to have more energy to make decisions faster, to kind of process with them or whatever the thing is. And human design helps them realize like, oh, they're just different. I tell so many stories in the book of different couples where they're kind of having these struggles and then they just realize, oh, they're wired differently. And so, yeah, I think that it's so powerful in relationships to understand exactly how people are wired and how we can really uniquely support them. I'm a projector in human design. I'm married to a generator. I have a manifesting generator toddler and a manifestor baby. And so in my little nuclear unit, we have 4 different types of the 5 represented. Like I love kind of walking into this experience of as a mother being like, my kids are wired so differently than me, and so I'm kind of walking in with no expectation they'll be anything like me, and they might be in ways that I don't expect, but I just think it's so healthy to kind of take the time to understand how different each person is, and human design offers us such an amazing specific roadmap to do it. It gives us all the language to kind of talk about and understand our differences in a way that can bring so much more harmony and compassion and understanding into our relationships.
Yeah, and like as a parent to have that understanding of your kids, so you're not trying to, I don't know if I'm using the right term, project, but to sort of project yourself onto them, right? Which I think is something that for parents we will often do. So what a gift to be able to actually see them. So I'm curious. I know you have like a 2-year-old right now and a 6-month-old. Can you see it even in your 2-year-old? Like, are you seeing
Oh
the
my
same?
God. And my 6-month-old, for sure. I think that like my 2-year-old's a manifesting generator, like I said, and like, I mean, this girl is like charismatic beyond, you know what I mean? Like I love manifesting generators, but like it is so fun to be around because like it's so buzzy and so energetic, and she just feels like a sun, just like a walking sun, and I feel her energy so intensely, but I also like and I think this is probably true of most toddlers. Like she's got a lot of energy to use up. She's like kind of sprinting around the house at night because it's just like I've got to like use it all up. And so it's been, I don't know, it's been so fun to watch. And manifesting generators do really well when given options. So given kind of specific things to respond to. So that's been a fun way to kind of communicate with her, which again I think is true actually for most toddlers. But kind of giving her those options and watching the ways that her body instinctively responds to what I'm sharing. And then my 6-month-old is a manifestor, and these people value like a lot of freedom. They kind of like can't be told what to do. She's obviously 6 months, so she's a baby, but even from an early stage at 2 months, she started like rolling over and like busting out of her swaddle, and I was just like, what is going on? But it was just so clear that she was like, I have to move, like it's just like she's so, you can sense that desire. One, she's like you feel her strength and power so clearly, but also like there's a real desire for freedom, which I can imagine is like incredibly frustrating as a baby, and yet you kind of can watch that desire unfold. So it's been really fun to watch.
What a gift for them to have a mom who's able to see them fully in that way, right? And to embrace
So
it. Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah, and it's definitely not. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it's just like, it's not with a lens of where I'm like, you must be a manifesting generator or a manifestor. It's more that I just kind of have it in the back of my mind and I'm witnessing it. And it's just happening really organically, So I just think it's such a cool tool to like have to be like, oh, like I see why that might be happening. Or like, oh, I'm like really appreciating how different they are there. And like, that's not a thing that's wrong. It's just different, And it's so fun having 2 kids that are quite close in age because I'm like, wow, these kids are so different, and like I love kind of walking into this experience. I'm sure, parents with multiples experience that, but it's kind of blown my mind that I'm like, my experience with my first like is really different than my experience already with my second.
Yeah, absolutely. And it only becomes even more clear as they get older. And but
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because we sort of like say, oh, it's like a usually like the boy girl thing, or but now when you sort of add the whole human design lens, it gives you just a different sort of perspective as well when you're
Totally.
yeah, when you're looking at them grow up for sure. Thank you, Erin. I'm just receiving this conversation in my heart, and I really am feeling so guided to dive even more into human design. I have to say, it was like when I had that, as I said, it's like in the past few months where it's just lit something up in me that I've been wanting to dive more. And I know, I didn't even ask you if I can share this, but I know that you also have a certification on your course as well. So for people who want to really go in deep, they can
Yeah.
do the course.
Yeah, the course is, it's the perfect place if you're just like, I want to learn what this all means and how to actually use it in parenting and relationships and careers. So we have people that are in there that just like are curious about human design and want to go deeper and they don't know where it will take them. It sounds like maybe that's you. We have people that are like, I want to become a human design coach or guide. And we have people that are coaches already and they just want to kind of find a new modality to kind of help tailor their approach better to their people. So it's been really fun to do that. I think that, yeah, I love teaching human design. I love sharing it. And I think my goal is really just to make it so accessible and so practical and so empowering so people can kind of feel empowered to go use it out in the world however they please.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for me as a coach, it just gives you, again, a different perspective, another layer to be able to support someone on their journey, whatever that may be.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Because you're just like, oh, I can like ask questions differently. I'm aware of different challenges. It just gives you more insight into the person you're working with.
Absolutely. Okay, so we mentioned a few websites. We're going to post everything in the show notes. Where is the best place, though, for someone to reach you, Erin, if they want to learn more, order your book?
Yes. So again, if you want to look up your chart and get your guide, you can do that at humandesignblueprint.com. You can use the discount code Renee for your guide. I know we'll have the link for the book in the show notes. I really recommend that if you just kind of want a tool for decision making to kind of keep you in alignment and also to be inspired by people that have your design and have lived it and kind of seen what happens. And then on Instagram, I'm at Erin Claire Jones and Human Design Blueprint.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, honestly, for sharing your wisdom. And I didn't know that we were fellow 6'2s. So there you go. We have that extra connection.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Erin.
Of course.
And I want to thank you for listening to the Spiritually Wired podcast. And as always, a reminder that you are always spiritually wired for love, for success, for abundance, and for connection. See you next week. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.